Hi, welcome to React.js course. This is part of basically my full stack development course, which I will be publishing very soon. So as part of that full stack development course, as a front-end development library, we have used React.js. So we'll be learning React.js in detail. This is a beginner-friendly course. That means we do not expect any prerequisite. That said, if you know HTML, CSS, and a bit of JavaScript, that is good to start with. And if you don't know anything, this is the first time you are actually using front-end technologies, that is also fine. We'll be learning all the basic things, whatever is required for React.js understanding. Yeah? And we'll be using version 19, which is the latest version as of now when I'm recording this course. But yeah, if you know one particular version, you can always upgrade in the future. Yeah. So this session, we will talk about what we're going to learn in this series of React.js. Yeah. So I have divided this into multiple parts. The part one is basics. That means everything related to React.js. We're going to understand every basic thing that we're going to understand. But one thing very important that I wanted to mention, this course is completely project-oriented course. So what it means is we will be actually doing one or the other project, and as part of the project, we will understand all the basics of React.js, and also we will move from simple projects to advanced projects so that we can understand the advanced concepts of React.js. So everything will be practical. So you need to do hands-on along with what we are doing. And all the code that we're going to discuss in this particular course, I will be sharing it through GitHub repo that you can always refer, but you need to, I mean, you can't just watch the videos and learn it. Yeah. So you need to actually start doing whatever we discuss. Yeah. So we will go in the part one. I will talk about all the basics stuff. But then in part two, part three, we will be actually moving on to a slightly advanced version of it. Yeah. So what we're going to learn in part one is essentially, again, I will quickly go with an introduction to React.js. Why do we need it? Why can't I manage everything through simple HTML, CSS, JavaScript? So we'll take one or two examples like Airbnb type of site, and we will try to understand why using simple JavaScript it is difficult, and why do we think we need a little more polished libraries like React.js. Yeah. Then we will move on to important JavaScript topics because React.js is essentially a JavaScript library. So it is essential to understand certain JavaScript things. If you know JavaScript already, this is going to be just a refresher. But if you don't know, you're a beginner in the JavaScript, still this is going to be a most important topic because without which you will probably do not understand anything in React.js. Yeah. So we'll quickly recap most of the important topics of JavaScript. But that said, if you are completely new, it is advisable to actually do another JavaScript course if possible. Yeah. Um, then we will move on to React Essentials. We will pick up a simple demo project. We'll start from scratch, and as we build the demo project, we will understand components, the JSX, how to build the components, and then how to actually pass the props to components so that we can actually reuse them. And then we will keep building the project by composing different components, and then make sure we are actually making interactive project. Yeah. And then we will see how to handle the events, how to manage the component state using hook, and how to derive the dynamic data, how to conditionally render the components, and how to dynamically style the components. Yeah. Never mind if you don't understand any of these catchy words, we'll be learning everything as part of this basics. Yeah. Once we have the basic project done, you should ideally have a fair understanding of most of the things that we're going to discuss in React.js. But then it's going to be very high level, basically 10,000 feet type of view. Yeah. But then as part of the second project, we will be doing little more deep dive of the same things. Like for example, we will do a deep dive of JSX. We will start splitting the components based on the feature so that we can actually start talking about separation of concerns. We will start building components hierarchies so that we can start doing certain props forwarding and handling the default prop values, two-way binding, rendering multidimensional list, lifting the state up because of the hierarchy, avoiding unnecessary state, rather use computed values, sharing the state across multiple components, and then trying to do a bit of how can we effectively manage the state. Yeah, this is a continuation of first project, but then maybe using another project like tic-tac-toe game or maybe a to-do type of app. We will do little advance so that we understand whatever we did in the first project. We'll try to learn basic things, but then how do we improve our knowledge around these same topic, but by doing little more complicated project. Yeah, I'm saying this complicated because as a beginner friendly, this is going to be a little more complicated project. Yeah. Then we will actually do one more full-fledged end-to-end practice project that should recap all the things that we learned so far in two projects. Yeah. Then we'll start styling the components. We will try to style it through our vanilla CSS, and then slowly moving on to how can I actually scope the styles like CSS modules, etc. But then the main topic in this part is going to be Tailwind CSS. So using the industry standard Tailwind CSS, how can I incorporate Tailwind CSS into React.js projects? Yeah. So that's going to be the part three, predominantly around the styling piece. Yeah. Then part four is important topic again. Here we'll be talking about how do I debug the React application, because in your real world example, as and when we will be doing the React based projects, we will encounter a lot of errors. We should know how to understand the errors, how to understand React error messages, how can I do the browser based debugging and breakpoints techniques, and how can I actually use React dev tools to understand how React is behaving behind the scenes. Yeah? Which is very important, because if you're stuck, these are the ones which are going to help you to understand what's really going wrong with your React project. Yeah? But even though this part is dedicated for it, but as and when we are doing the earlier projects, as and when we see the error messages, I will keep explaining why do we have that error message, what is the reason for it, and how do you identify the error message, and then how do you go and then fix the error message. Yeah. Then in the part 5, we will do a bit of advanced around refs and portals, component APIs, and then essentially getting into how to expose component APIs, etc. Yeah. That's going to be part 5. I'm going very fast here because as and when we go to that particular topic, I will be again coming back here and then explaining them in more detail. Yeah. Then we will be doing again one more full round of practice project. These projects are going to be like the projects that you can claim that you have practiced as part of these course. Yeah. Then we will be moving on to the advanced part of it. Essentially, again, I will give a very high level view of it. But then we'll be building again more apps, like for example, a quiz app, and then through that we will try to understand context API and reducer hook. We will also understand React's internals a bit, so that whenever you appear for interviews, you understand, you can explain what's really happening in the background. Yeah. We will also go through class-based components. Most of the previous projects that we do, they're all functional-based components, but this is going to be a slight touch of class-based component. We'll understand component lifecycle, how to handle the HTTP request. We will build a small backend project, because end of the day, your React project is going to be front end, and it will be interacting with one or the other backend resources. So we will take a demo backend project, and then we will see how can I actually fetch the data from backend. Yeah, we will build custom React hooks. We will handle the forms, user input, form submissions, etc. And then we will build a full-fledged food order app. Again, I'm taking examples of the app here, but it need not be just food order app. I mean, if required, we'll take some other app. But gist of this is by taking real world applications and by building them, you try to understand all the things that happen in the background. Yeah. So as part of this food order app, or maybe a similar app, when we are building it, we will understand state management in detail. So far, we might have done state management in a very basic way, but now we'll start using more industry standard libraries around state management. So the libraries like Redux we'll be using, and also we will use a lightweight Justand, and you should at least know two ways of managing the React.js state. Um, one is more advanced Redux, and one more very lightweight approach. Yeah, and then we will be talking about the other ecosystem in React, like the React routing, which is essentially building multi-page applications. Yeah, the routing is very important piece of React. applications. So we'll be handling this. Yeah. And then the basic things, every React app will be definitely managing the authorization and authentication. So how do you actually perform user authentication in React apps? And then how do you deploy your React apps? So we'll be actually deploying React apps onto certain available free to use type of platforms and actually demonstrate the steps in deploying. Yeah? So that would be part two. And in the part three, we will be actually going into TypeScript. So far in both of these parts, everything that we did using JavaScript. Yeah? But then once you get a good grasp of React.js, we will be actually moving into TypeScript, which is the next version of next version of JavaScript, I can say, which with very strong support for types. Yeah. So this is essential. Most of the enterprise level applications are normally built using TypeScript. When we learn TypeScript, we'll understand what is the pain points of JavaScript and how TypeScript is trying to resolve it. Yeah, but again, we'll be actually doing a TypeScript basics kind of thing here because once we start the next part, we'll be mostly doing everything in TypeScript. Yeah, so this part is going to be basics of TypeScript and understanding the difference between JavaScript, TypeScript, and start using TypeScripts. Yeah, possible that as part of this, we will revisit the same projects that we have done in the previous, like it could be tic-tac-toe or to-do type of thing, and try to build it through TypeScript. Yeah, so that you can figure out like how did you build it through JavaScript and how are you now going to build it through TypeScript. Yeah. Then comes the actual enterprise grade framework, which is on top of React.js, that is Next.js. So we'll be doing very in detail Next.js course here. We will be building quite a lot of apps using Next.js, but this will be a real serious programming that goes here. We'll be building enterprise scale Next.js application. But then when we get into this part, I will again explain in detail what are all the things that we're going to cover in Next.js. Yeah. So after this, few optional parts, server-side components, how to manage it, and then how the various React patterns that you should understand from interview point of view. And then maybe another important part is about testing the React apps. Yeah. Even though in the earlier part one and part two, we will write few unit test cases using appropriate library. That's why I kept these as optional. But then if you wanted to really understand a little more in depth of testing React apps, this is the part where we're going to actually work on. Yeah. So this is the complete React.js course. I believe we will be covering almost everything that you need to know in React.js here. Everything through projects and all the source code is made available. We will be trying to keep it as simple as possible because this is a beginner friendly course. So essentially everything that you need to know to build enterprise scale applications that we will be learning here. Yeah. So from the next video onwards, we'll start actually working on the part one, which is essentially the basics of React.js.